The weather pattern across the United States is setting up for what could be the most significant winter weather event we've seen in years for the East Coast. And if you've been waiting for winter to finally arrive, or if you've been watching these models flip back and forth, I'm going to break down exactly what we were looking at. Right now, conditions across the country couldn't be more different, and understanding where we are today helps explain where we were headed. Across the deep south from Texas through Louisiana and into Mississippi, it's been warm and humid, temperatures running 10 to 15 degrees above normal. That warm, unstable air mass has been sitting over the region. Compare that to eastern Colorado, where temperatures dropped to 17 degrees this morning. Wind chills down to 5 degrees. That is the Arctic air we need to talk about. The contrast is setting up. And when you get warm, moisture-laden air from the Gulf colliding with Arctic air diving south, you get snow. The question isn't if we'll see winter weather. The question is where, when, and how much. Let me walk you through what the models are showing because there's been significant movement in the last 24 to 48 hours. The GFS model, the American model, has been aggressive, very aggressive. The 12Z run yesterday showed heavy snow from northern Florida all the way through New England. We talking about a widespread event affecting almost the entire eastern seaboard. Snowfall totals on that run ranged from 4 to 6 inches along the I-95 corridor, with localized amounts approaching 12 to 18 inches in favored areas. But here's what you need to know about the GFS. It has a tendency to overdrive systems at medium range. 7 to 10 days out, it can be enthusiastic. We've seen this pattern before. It shows something big, gets everyone excited, then backs off as we get closer. The European model, the Euro, has been more conservative. It's been showing the energy staying further east, keeping the heaviest snow offshore or confined to coastal New England. The Euro has a better track record for East Coast storms at the 5 to 7 day range. It predicted those back-to-back storms for New York and Long Island around Christmas within a week of occurrence. That is the kind of reliability we need to pay attention to. Right now, we are looking at a time frame of late this weekend into early next week. That's still several days out. At this range, we focus on the pattern, not specific snowfall totals for individual cities. Here's what gives this setup credibility. The teleconnections are favorable. These are large-scale atmospheric patterns that influence our day-to-day weather. The North Atlantic oscillation is trending negative. The Arctic oscillation is negative. When both of these indices are negative, it means the polar vortex is stronger and more stable over the Arctic. That allows cold air to spill south into the continental United States. The Pacific North American pattern, the PNA, might go positive again. A positive PNA typically means ridging over the western United States and troughing in the east. That's a classic setup for cold and snow in the eastern half of the country. If the Madden-Julian oscillation, the MJO, moves into phases 8 and 1 toward the end of the month, we're looking at an extended period of favorable conditions for winter weather. The MJO is a tropical convection pattern that circles the globe every 30 to 60 days. When it's in certain phases, it influences the jet stream configuration over North America. Phases 8 and 1 historically favor cold and snow for the east. All of these teleconnections aligning at once doesn't happen every winter. When it does, it opens the door for multiple storms, not just one event. Now let's talk about the specific systems we are tracking. The first potential comes this weekend. There's energy moving through the southern stream of the jet. Southern stream systems typically have better access to Gulf moisture. The question is whether the northern stream, the Arctic branch of the jet, phases with the southern energy. If they phase, meaning they come together and amplify, we get a stronger storm. If they don't phase, the southern energy slides out to sea and we get minimal impacts. The GFS has been showing phasing. The Euro has been showing the system staying separate. That's the key disagreement right now. For this weekend system, confidence is low for significant impacts along I-95. Coastal areas from the Delmarva Peninsula through southern New England have the best chance for accumulating snow. Interior areas might see a few inches, but right now, this looks like it stays mostly east. The second system comes toward the middle of next week, around January 22nd or 23rd. This one has better potential for a more widespread event. The upper-level pattern shows a deep trough digging into the eastern United States. There is better agreement between models on the overall setup, even if they disagree on details. Cold air will be in place. No question about that. The Climate Prediction Center has issued a moderate risk for life-threatening cold from January 24th through January 28th. We're talking about wind chills potentially dropping to 30 below zero or colder across the upper Midwest, 20 to 30 below across the Ohio Valley, even single digits along the I-95 corridor. When you have air that cold in place and you get a storm system tracking through, snow ratios increase. Instead of 10 to 1, where 10 inches of snow equals 1 inch of liquid, you might see 15 to 1 or even 20 to 1 ratios. That means fluffier, drier snow that accumulates more efficiently. But it also blows around easily, creating visibility issues and drifting. The Canadian model has been the most conservative. It shows very little for most of the East Coast. Now, the Canadian model has a reputation for being a wet blanket on winter storms, but you can ignore it completely. It's another piece of information. What I'm watching is model consistency. When we start seeing multiple models converge on a similar solution, confidence increases. Right now, we're still in the phase where each model run can show significant differences. The GFS 1 run shows 2 feet of snow for Boston. The next run shows 6 inches. That's not unusual at this range, but it means you can lock into specific numbers. Let me break this down by region because impacts will vary significantly depending on where you are. For the Deep South, Alabama, Mississippi, northern Louisiana, northern Georgia, this is not your typical winter weather. If the setup comes together, you could see snow, meaningful snow. The GFS has shown 4 to 8 inches across parts of northern Alabama and Georgia. Now that's an outlier scenario, but it's within the realm of possibility given the pattern. The challenge in the Deep South is ground temperature. You've been warm, the ground hasn't frozen. That means the first inch or two of snow might melt on contact. You need sustained, heavy snowfall rates to overcome that, half an inch per hour or more. If you get that, snow accumulates even on warm surfaces. For the Carolinas, both north and south, you're in a tricky spot. You are close enough to the coast that small shifts in track make huge differences. 50 miles east and you get rain. 50 miles west and you get significant snow. The I-85 corridor from Charlotte through the Triad has potential. So does the I-40 corridor through Raleigh, but it is too early to say with confidence. The mountains of North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, you're in good shape for this pattern. Elevation helps. You will see snow with almost any track. The question is how much? Anywhere from 6 inches to over a foot is possible if this amplifies. Virginia, you've been waiting. Many areas haven't seen a major snowstorm in years. This pattern has potential for you. Richmond, the I-64 corridor, Charlottesville, the Shenandoah Valley. All of these areas could see significant snow if the track is right. The key word is if. Maryland, same story. Many of you haven't seen real snow in 2 years. You're in a similar position to Virginia. The potential is there. But small changes in track mean everything. Washington, D.C. and the immediate metro area, you are always in a tough spot. Too far south for some storms, too far north for others, and right in the rain-snow line for many. This setup could go either way. The GFS has been trending westward, which would be favorable for you, but we need to see that trend continue and we need other models to agree. Pennsylvania, you are divided. Eastern Pennsylvania and the I-95 corridor through Philadelphia faces similar challenges to D.C. and Maryland. Western Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh have different dynamics. You are further inland, higher elevation in many areas. You typically do better with northwest flow snow behind the main system. Lake effect snow from Lake Erie could add to totals. New Jersey, especially northern New Jersey, you've been disappointed for years. Every setup looks good initially, then trends away. I understand the frustration. This pattern is different from what we've seen recently. It's not a guarantee, but it's the best opportunity in a while. New York, including Long Island and the Hudson Valley, you saw 2 decent storms around Christmas. 5 to 6 inches in many areas within a week of each other. That's more than many places have seen all winter. This pattern could bring more. The GFS has been aggressive for your area. The Euro less so. We'll see which one wins out. New England, from Connecticut through Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine, you are in the bullseye for most model solutions. Even the conservative Euro shows meaningful snow for you. Coastal Massachusetts, the Cape and Islands, you have the highest confidence right now for the weekend system. Interior New England might do better with the midweek system. For those of you in the upper Midwest, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Dakotas, you are already dealing with winter. Temperatures well below zero. Wind chills dangerous. You'll see clipper systems moving through over the next week. These are fast-moving, moisture-starved systems that drop 2 to 4 inches of snow. Nothing major individually, but they add up. And the cold behind them is impressive. The Great Lakes region, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, you'll see lake effect snow. Once the main systems move through, northwest winds develop. That S when the snow bands set up off Lake Erie and Lake Michigan. Localized amounts could be significant, especially in the typical snow belts. Now let me talk about what you should be doing to prepare, because regardless of whether your specific area gets 6 inches or 16 inches, this cold is serious. First, the cold itself is dangerous. Wind chills of 20 to 30 below zero can cause frostbite in less than 30 minutes on exposed skin. If you need to be outside, dress in layers. Cover all exposed skin. Limit time outdoors. Check on elderly neighbors and family members. They are more vulnerable to cold-related illness. Make sure their homes are adequately heated. Make sure they have food and medications in case roads become impassable. If you have pets, bring them inside. Dogs and cats can suffer frostbite and hypothermia just like humans. If you absolutely cannot bring them inside, provide insulated shelter with bedding and access to unfrozen water. For those who might see significant snow, prepare now. Don't wait until the day before. Grocery stores will be crowded. Shelves will be picked over. Get what you need this week. Stock up on non-perishable food. Things that don't require cooking if you lose power. Bread, peanut butter, canned goods, water, a gallon per person per day for at least 3 days, batteries for flashlights, a battery-powered or hand-crank radio, phone chargers, preferably ones that don't require electricity, battery banks fully charged, medications. Make sure you have at least a week's supply of any prescription medications. Pharmacies might be closed or inaccessible if roads are bad. If you heat with oil or propane, make sure your tank is full. Don't let it run low and risk running out during a storm. Clear gutters and downspouts now before the snow comes. Heavy snow load on a roof can be dangerous, especially wet, heavy snow. Make sure you have a roof rake if you live in an area that gets significant snow. Rock salt or ice melt for sidewalks and driveways. Sand or kitty litter for traction if your vehicle gets stuck. Many of you already know this. If your car gets stuck in snow, cat litter under the tires increases traction. It costs $3 and works better than sand in many cases. Have a snow shovel. If you in an area that rarely sees snow, you might not own one. Buy one now. Also consider that shoveling snow is strenuous exercise. If you have heart problems or you not in good physical condition, take breaks. Don't try to shovel a foot of snow all at once. For your vehicle, make sure you have a winter emergency kit. Blankets, extra warm clothes, food, water, a flashlight, jumper cables, a small shovel, sand, or cat litter. If you get stranded, you want supplies to keep you warm and safe until help arrives. Keep your gas tank at least half full. In extreme cold, you don't want to risk running out of gas. Also, a fuller tank helps prevent fuel line freeze. Now, I want to address something I've been seeing in the conversation around this pattern. There's been a lot of hype, a lot of excitement, and I understand that. If you've been waiting for snow, if you love winter weather, these model runs showing big snowfall totals get your attention. But we need to keep perspective. Yes, the pattern is favorable. Yes, the teleconnections are aligning. Yes, we could see significant winter weather, but we are still several days out. Things can change. They often do. I'm not going to promise 2 feet of snow for anyone. I'm not going to tell you this is a guaranteed historic blizzard. What I will tell you is that the pattern supports winter weather. Multiple systems are possible over the next 10 to 14 days. Some areas will see significant snow. Some areas will be disappointed. Model uncertainty is high right now. The GFS and Euro are showing different solutions. That S normal at this range. As we get closer, they'll converge, or one will clearly be right and the other wrong. We want to know which until we inside the 3 to 5 day window. What I'm asking is that you prepare for the cold because that S certain. Prepare for the possibility of snow because the pattern supports it. But don't bank on specific totals yet. For those of you who've been through major winter storms before, you know the drill. The blizzard of 1993, many of you remember that. Parts of the Appalachians saw 3 feet of snow. Snowdrifts 8 feet high. People snowed in for a week. Temperatures 20 below zero. That was an exceptional event. a once-in-a-generation storm for many areas. This pattern has potential, but let's not assume it is going to be 1993 all over again. The blizzard of 1996, another major event. Washington, D.C. saw over 2 feet. New York saw 20 inches. That storm paralyzed the I-95 corridor for days. You've seen these storms. You know what they can do. You also know that for every major storm, there are 10 setups that look good and then fall apart. I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I am trying to be realistic. The data supports taking this seriously. The data does not yet support specific city-by-city snowfall forecasts. Let me talk about what I'll be watching over the next few days to increase or decrease confidence. First, model consistency. If the GFS, Euro, Canadian, and UK Met models start agreeing, confidence increases. If they continue showing different solutions, confidence stays low. Second, the northern and southern streams of the jet. Do they phase? Phasing means amplification. Amplification means a stronger storm with heavier precipitation. Third, the track of the low-pressure system. For the East Coast, a track just off the coast is optimal for snow. Too far inland and you get warm air. Too far offshore and you don't get enough moisture. Fourth, the thermal profiles. Where is the freezing line? Where is the rain-snow line? These determine who sees all snow, who sees a mix, and who sees mostly rain. Fifth, precipitation rates. Heavy snowfall rates, an inch per hour or more, can overcome marginal temperatures. Light snow might not accumulate even when it's cold enough. The National Weather Service will start issuing winter storm watches when we reach 24 to 48 hours out and confidence is high. That S, when you know it, S, time to finalize preparations. If you are in a watch area and you haven't prepared, that S, your last chance. Winter storm warnings come out when snow is imminent or occurring and amounts are expected to be significant, typically 6 inches or more in 12 hours or 8 inches or more in 24 hours. Criteria vary by location. What's a warning in Virginia might be different from what a warning in upstate New York. Blizzard warnings are different. Those require sustained winds of 35 miles per hour or greater with considerable falling or blowing snow reducing visibility to less than a quarter mile for 3 hours or more. Blizzards are about wind and visibility, not just snow amounts. I want to address the cold one more time because it deserves emphasis. The Climate Prediction Center doesn't issue moderate risk for life-threatening cold lightly. This is serious. Hypothermia can occur even when temperatures are above freezing if you re-wet and it's windy. Below zero temperatures with wind accelerate heat loss from your body. What might take hours at 30 degrees takes minutes at 30 below. Frostbite on fingers, toes, nose, ears can happen in less than 30 minutes at 20 below with wind. The pain goes away once frostbite sets in, which is dangerous because you might not realize the damage being done. If you work outdoors, take frequent breaks to warm up. If your job requires you to be outside in this cold, dress appropriately. Multiple thin layers trap heat better than one thick layer. Cover your head. You lose significant body heat through your head. Insulated, waterproof gloves and boots. For those in the South who rarely deal with this kind of cold, you might not own heavy winter coats. That is understandable. Multiple thin layers work. A long sleeve shirt, a sweater, a windbreaker, that combination traps heat effectively. Pipes can freeze when temperatures drop below 20 degrees for extended periods. Let faucets drip slightly, especially those on exterior walls. The movement helps prevent freezing. Open cabinet doors under sinks to allow warm air to circulate around pipes. If pipes do freeze, never use an open flame to thaw them. Use a hairdryer or space heater working from the faucet back toward the frozen section. Frozen pipes can burst when they thaw, causing significant water damage. Space heaters are a leading cause of house fires in winter. If you use them, keep them at least 3 feet away from anything flammable. Never leave them unattended. Never run them while you sleep. Make sure smoke detectors have fresh batteries. Carbon monoxide poisoning increases in winter. Never use generators, grills, or other gas-powered equipment indoors. Carbon monoxide is odorless and colorless. By the time you realize something is wrong, it might be too late. Install carbon monoxide detectors if you don't have them. For those who might lose power, which is possible with heavy snow bringing down power lines or ice accumulating on lines, have a plan. Where will you go if your home becomes uninhabitable? Do you have family or friends nearby? Are there warming centers in your community? Find out before you need them. One more thing about winter driving. If you don't have to drive during a winter storm, don't. It's that simple. No job, no errand, no appointment is worth your life. If you must drive, slow down. Way down. Even if you have four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, everyone has four-wheel stop. That S where people get in trouble. They think four-wheel drive makes them invincible. It doesn't. T increase following distance. On dry pavement, you follow 3 to 4 seconds behind the vehicle in front of you. On snow or ice, make it 8 to 10 seconds. Give yourself time to react and stop. Bridges and overpasses freeze first. They lose heat from both the top and bottom. Slow down before you get to them. If you start to skid, don't panic. Ease off the gas. Steer in the direction you want to go. Don't slam on the brakes. That makes it worse. Black ice is invisible. It forms when temperatures are near freezing and there's moisture. You can see it until you are on it. Shaded areas, bridges, overpasses are all high risk. Now let me bring this back to the meteorology because that S what you are here for. The upper level pattern shows a deep trough over the eastern United States toward the end of next week. That trough will be associated with a polar vortex lobe. Cold air pooling over Canada will spill south into the United States. At the surface, high pressure builds over central Canada. That high pressure acts as a cold air source and also helps steer storm systems. Low pressure develops along the Gulf Coast or southeast coast as energy moves through the southern stream. The interaction between the cold high pressure to the north and the developing coastal low determines the track and intensity of any storm system. If the high is strong and positioned correctly, it forces the low to track close to the coast. That S optimal for snow. If the high is weak or positioned too far west, the low can track inland. That brings warmer air and reduces snow potential. The isobars, the lines of equal pressure, tell you about wind. Tightly packed isobars mean strong winds. Loosely packed mean light winds. With a strong coastal storm, isobars get very tight along the coast. That's why nor'easters often have damaging winds along with heavy snow. The 5 on 40 line on the thickness chart is a useful tool for determining rain versus snow. Thickness measures the depth of a layer of the atmosphere, typically between 1,000 and 500 millibars. Cold air is denser and compresses that layer. Warm air is less dense and expands it. Below 540, you typically see all snow. Above 540, typically all rain. Right around 540, you see a mix. It's not perfect, but it's a good rule of thumb. Mesoscale banding is something to watch once a storm develops. These are narrow bands of very heavy snow, often only 20 to 40 miles wide, but producing snowfall rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour. If one of these bands sets up over your location, totals can be significantly higher than surrounding areas. Deformation zones are where these bands often form. It's where winds in the atmosphere are stretching and compressing the air, forcing it to rise. Rising air cools, moisture condenses, snow falls. Dynamic cooling is another factor. When snow falls heavily, it cools the air around it. That cooling can bring the freezing line down, allowing snow to fall at temperatures where you'd normally expect rain. It's how you can sometimes see snow in the mid-30s at the surface. Evaporative cooling works similarly. Precipitation falling into dry air evaporates, which cools the air. That cooling can change rain to snow or bring temperatures down faster than forecast. All of these small-scale processes can make the difference between 4 inches and 14 inches. They are why forecasting exact totals is so difficult, especially more than a day or two out. Ensemble models help with uncertainty. Instead of running the model once, it is run 50 or 100 times with slightly different starting conditions. That gives you a range of possible outcomes and shows you which solutions are most likely. The GEFS, the GFS ensemble, has been showing good agreement on a snowy pattern. Not all members show the same totals or tracks, but most show winter weather for the East Coast at some point over the next week to 10 days. The Euro ensemble has been more conservative but trending towards showing more. That convergence between the American and European ensembles is encouraging. Now we're at the point where patience is required. I know that S not what you want to hear. You want me to tell you exactly how much snow you're getting and when. I can do that honestly yet. Neither can anyone else, regardless of what they might claim. What I can tell you is to stay informed. Check updates daily. The forecast will come into focus over the next 2 to 3 days. By Friday, we'll have much better clarity on the weekend system. By early next week, we'll know more about the midweek potential. Don't rely on just one source. Check the National Weather Service for your area. They read the official source and they do excellent work. Check multiple meteorologists. See where there is consensus and where there is disagreement. Be wary of hype. If someone is promising you 2 feet of snow a week from now, they are not being honest about forecast uncertainty. If someone is showing you a scary model image with no context, they are more interested in clicks than accuracy. This is a legitimate pattern. These are legitimate threats. But forecasting winter storms on the East Coast is complex. Small changes make huge differences. That's reality. I'll continue monitoring this closely and providing updates as the situation evolves. The next critical model runs are tonight. The 12Z runs tomorrow morning will be important. Each run should bring us more clarity. For now, prepare for the cold. That's certain. Be ready for snow. That's possible. Stay informed. That's critical. And use common sense. That's always the best advice. This pattern is what we've been waiting for. Whether it delivers or not, we'll know soon enough. Winter isn't over. Even if this particular setup doesn't work out perfectly, the favorable pattern could last for weeks. Multiple opportunities are possible. That is what I'm watching. That is what you should be watching.